Welcome to my channel. This is JC Rock and Metal Reviews. My name is John and I'm continuing my Iron Maiden series with Virtual 11. But before I begin, if you're new to this channel and you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. I do rock and metal reviews, rankings, and more. So Virtual 11, it's their second album with Blaze Bayley on vocals, released on March 23rd, 1998. I do have some memories of this album. Back in 1998, I used to listen to this college radio station. They played heavy metal on weekends, and I remember one morning I was listening to the station and they announced they were going to play the new Iron Maiden album in full. So I kind of went through all my cassettes and I found like a blank cassette, one that has like 45 minutes free on like one side, and I popped it in and I did tape the entire like radio broadcast. So I did own a taped version of this album for a while. And I've always liked it. I think because of that, it just brings back that memory. But it's one of those albums I think a lot of people don't like, or they might rank it all the way at the bottom. And I think a lot of it has to do with the song Angel and the Gambler, and I will be talking about that in a minute. Let me talk about the details of the album. So the album has a different lineup. It has Blaze Bayley on vocals, Dave Murray on guitars, Yannick Gers on guitars, Steve Harris on bass, and Nico McBrain on drums. And it was a follow-up to the first album with Blaze called The X Factor. That was kind of like a dark album, but this one is more upbeat. And the songs do have that same like Iron Maiden style. There are a few songs that are performed live to this day. I'll talk about that in a minute as well. The album has 8 songs and a 53-minute runtime. So the album starts out with Futureal. It's a short song. It might actually even be the shortest Iron Maiden song. It's just under 3 minutes. It's a straightforward, fast-paced song. Has that classic Iron Maiden gallop. There's a pretty cool guitar solo here as well. Not a bad song to start off the album. Next is Angel and the Gambler. And then this is probably the most hated song in their entire discography. Now, first of all, I don't hate it myself. I will mention a few things that could have been different. I think the big problem is the runtime. The song is almost 10 minutes long, but it's the type of song that should be like 4 minutes. And yes, I know there is a 4-minute version, you know, they use for the music video and the single, and that's on YouTube. But I think the 4-minute version should be like the only version. I mean, that's the one that should be on the album. The second thing is there's lots of keyboards and the guitar tone is like very upbeat, not very like Maiden-ish. And the other problem is like the repetitive nature of the chorus. So the chorus goes, don't you think I'm a savior? Don't you think I can save you? Don't you think I can save your life? And that verse is sung 22 times. And yes, I did pull up the lyrics and I counted it. So the song was written by Steve Harris, so that part's not bad, but I think they just really needed to like trim down the song, and like the single version is probably a lot better. Next is Lightning Strikes Twice. The song is just under 5 minutes, written by Dave Murray and Steve Harris. The song goes back to that classic Iron Maiden sound. It has a slow bass intro, has some keyboards, some melodic guitars. The song gets heavy as it progresses and the power chords come out, pretty cool. It's one of those songs with like heavy and light parts and like slow and fast parts. It's a pretty cool song. There's a lot going on like during its runtime. Next is the Clansman. This is probably like the most important song on the album. I know it's a song they still play live. There are many versions of the song with Bruce Dickinson on vocals. Probably also one of my favorite songs by Iron Maiden. So the lyrics were inspired by the Mel Gibson movie Braveheart. So also keep in mind it is Clansman with a C, not to be confused with, you know, the Klansman with a K in the US. It's not about that. The song is long, it's 9 minutes long, and unlike Angel and the Gambler, like this song does have that like classic Iron Maiden feel, so it is worthy of the 9-minute like runtime. It was written by Steve Harris, so it has the bass intro, the melodic lead guitars, has the keyboards, has a really cool bass riff in the second part of the intro, and the song also has like some heavier parts, something you would expect in an Iron Maiden song. And there are lots of like melodic riffs, there's fast-paced solos, and this is just a great song overall. Next song is called When Two Worlds Collide. So this was written by Blaze, Dave Murray, and Steve Harris. The song starts out slow. It has an almost like 80s metal ballad feel to it, but the song does pick up, and it's one of those songs that has like a really nice gallop to it. It's also a very catchy song. There's some like cool lead guitar riffs like here and there. Probably one of the most like melodic songs on the album as well. Now the next three songs are probably maybe like some of the weaker ones, but let's talk about them. So The Educated Fool was written by Steve Harris. It does have that signature sound that, you know, like most of those Steve Harris songs do have. Has the bass intro, the melodic leads. The song starts out slow, kind of like builds progressively, but the song is okay. It's not one of my favorites from the album, but nonetheless, does have some cool melodies and riffs throughout the song, and the bass sounds really good. Next is Don't Look to the Eyes of a Stranger. This one has a cool intro. The guitar riff does sound like it has like a pretty cool like chorus effect and a melodic lead intro. The lyrics are a little repetitive, and it's the kind of a, you know, this is like something that's kind of like a problem on the album, but there are lots of cool riffs on the song. This is another Steve Harris song. It has different time changes, and that's pretty cool. The song does have some like pretty cool riffs like after like 5 minutes, but kind of takes a long time to get there. The last song is called Como Estais Amigos. This was written by Yannick Gers and Blaze Bayley, and it has a slow intro like most of the songs in the album. There are clean guitars and keyboards throughout the intro. There are some heavy guitars that come in, but it's mostly a slow song. I guess you could call it a ballad. It's kind of unusual for Iron Maiden to end an album with this type of song, but on a positive note, there are some cool like progressive elements like towards the end of the song. Has some cool riffs and melodies, so kind of like foreshadows like some of the sounds that we're going to be hearing on like the other albums to come. Okay, in conclusion, I think this album does have a few problems like many people do. Now, first of all, when you do have a big band and they do change the lead vocalist, like it kind of goes either one or two ways. The fans either aren't happy with the new sound or they will just like embrace it. Now, a few examples of the latter would be like the change of vocalists with like AC/DC and Van Halen, but those are kind of rare cases. And another problem is a lot of people are going into this album, and I will talk about that more like when I review the X Factor, but it's kind of like they're going into it like not expecting to like it because, you know, they think Iron Maiden is Bruce Dickinson and they want Bruce. The other issue is the sound. There's a lot of keyboards. The songs are a little slower. The choruses are very repetitive. And I mean, I'm not just talking about Angel and the Gambler. I'm just talking about like a lot of the other songs. But with that being said, I think it's a good album. And if you just like take it for what it is, I don't think it's their worst. Like I wouldn't put it all the way at the bottom, but I don't know. Let me know how you feel in the comment section, and let's get a conversation going about this album. Tomorrow I will do an anniversary review of Bon Jovi's Slippery When Wet, celebrating 35 years, and my ranking of the Styx album. So that will be a big ranking with like 15 albums, and that should be on Thursday. Friday will be some new releases, so stick around and check out some other videos I have over there. See you in the next one.